Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve. Come on in, one and all. I got a quick live stream this morning. As many of you know, I have an election integrity webinar that I'm doing at 11 a.m. today. You could still sign up for it if you want to by clicking on the link below. But I just had to weigh in on this utterly insane uniparty oligarchical debacle ruling that we just got in this whole Fani Willis insanity. Gang, welcome. Good to see you all. Unfortunately, I'm wearing this. This is symbolic. This outfit is symbolic for this morning. Your host, Dr. Steve, is officially black-pilled. It took me 7.5 effing years to say that on this channel. I've been doing this since November 1st, 2016. I actually started this channel making the argument, extended argument of one video per day, November 1st to November 7th, that Donald Trump was going to win the 2016 campaign. He was going to win the 2016 election. That's how this channel started. And I had people, oh, it's never going to happen, blah, blah, blah. I have had black-pilled people after black-pilled people telling me all is lost, the sky is falling, and I have stayed steadfast throughout 7.5 years and said, not to worry, things are going our way, the wind's at our back, the world is turning in our direction, and it's just a matter of time before the pathetic, corrupt uniparty that rules our nation eventually falls and MAGA wins. And I got to tell you today, I'm officially effing black-pilled. I'm with you. Sky's falling. Where's my bunker? I'm done. I just don't know how else to interpret this. I'm sorry. I just don't. I'm just going to say it. I have no idea how else to interpret this other than just raw, stinking corruption. Judge McAfee, Scott McAfee, his 30-year-old child, has just ruled that District Attorney Fani Willis can stay on the Trump Georgia case if and only if she gets rid of her boy toy. That was the ruling. I kid you not. You can't make this shit up. That was the ruling. Scott McAfee has ruled that Big Fani can stay on this sham case. She can continue to prosecute President Trump with these idiot bogus charges, but only if she agrees to get rid of her lover, Nathan Wade. He can't be the special counsel or a special prosecutor. She has to find someone else. Even though he's never prosecuted a felony case in his life. Didn't that say anything? But no, she's got to find somebody else. And why does she have to find someone else? You may ask. Because this judge fully acknowledges that the two of them were having an illicit affair. They admitted to it. The two of them were shacking up, and then they were traveling the world and all of these opulent, luxurious vacations, spending the money that she was paying her boy toy after she appointed him as special prosecutor. We got the receipts. But then she turned around and said, no. I reimbursed him. I paid in cash. I reimbursed. Oh, really? Where'd you get all that cash? Oh, I had it in my mattress all these years. I don't know. Here, there. The very fact that this corrupt court is admitting that she has to give up her lover, or deciding she has to give up her lover, admitting that she was engaged in an illicit, inappropriate behavior in the course of this prosecution. They're admitting it, and yet they're saying, have at it. Have at it. Let's take this effort Trump out. Let's do it. And you got the Republicans to thank for it. I'm literally gobsmacked. I am, as you would say across the pond. I'm gobsmacked. Remember, those who are charging Willis and Wade with unethical behavior, the defense, they never had to prove that she or Wade actually lied in court about when their affair began, even though they basically did. They never had to prove she financially benefited from the prosecution by paying Wade an inordinate sum of money, which she did. And then the two of them went on all these luxurious vacations together that he paid for, which he did. They didn't even have to actually prove any of that. They didn't have to prove actual wrongdoing for both Willis and Wade to be removed from this case. All they had to do was show that there was the appearance of inappropriate behavior. They didn't have to demonstrate. They just had to show there was the appearance of illicit behavior. That's enough to constitute grounds for removal or resignation. But not according to Judge McAfee, Pimples McAfee. You can prove that there was clearly inappropriate. They admitted to inappropriate behavior between the DA and the special prosecutor. You could admit to it. You could prove it. You could show all kinds of evidence that they were financially benefiting from it. But just get rid of the boy toy and you're good to go. Yeah, that's the decision. He basically said, Ms. Willis, either you go or Wade goes, one way or the other. Either way, the case continues. I'm black-pilled. I'm black-pilled. We are living under a corrupt oligarchy over which we have no control. They rule according to their own values, interests, and concerns and benefit, and they tell the rest of us to F off. You all know, I don't need to tell you, you all know, New York Times has reported, McAfee, this judge, did at one time work for Willis. He was appointed to Georgia's complex trial division some years back. It's a division that prosecutes cases of domestic violence, assault, non-fatal shootings, and the like. He was appointed to that complex trial division when Willis was the head of it. She was the head of that division before she became Fulton County DA. So McAfee did work under her, and Newsweek has confirmed that McAfee did, in fact, donate to Willis's campaign for Fulton County DA. Now, admittedly, it was a very small donation, $150. I don't know why he contributed to it. Unfortunately, Georgia law doesn't give a shit about judges contributing to DA campaigns, or even when he was just a prosecutor. They don't care. They don't think it's a conflict of interest. But regardless, here we are. Here we are. Look, gang, I mean, the key in all of this, in my view, as we talk about often on this channel, but I guess right now it's hitting me hard, is that we are dealing with the politics of a uniparty. We are dealing with the politics of a single political class whose priority is only to protect itself. It's to protect and perpetuate itself. The priority of the political class is its own protection. It governs in accordance with its own values, interests, and concerns, which, of course, have nothing to do with the values, interests, and concerns of the people, the wider population. You might wonder why we put up with that. Why do so many allow this oligarchy to rule over us like this? And the answer is ironic. It's rather simple. I mean, again, we've talked about this on a number of occasions on this channel. C.S. Lewis, the author of Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, the Narnia Chronicles, C.S. Lewis actually wrote about this phenomenon back in the 1940s in his book, The Abolition of Man. When all's said and done, our modern day oligarchs, Lewis saw this as a problem inherent in the modern age in general. But our modern day oligarchs have convinced enough of the masses that we are most free only when they are in charge. We are most benefited when they have the most power. And this is a very modern conception of the governing class, because modernity is all about conforming the world to our own desires and ambitions. This was Lewis's argument. Lewis basically made the argument that pre-modern man, so what we might call classical man, humanity, thousands and thousands of years before the rise of the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century, humanity basically believed in something called cosmic piety. And cosmic piety is this notion the world is filled with divine meaning and purpose. And therefore, my highest freedom is realized when I conform my life into a harmonious relationship with that divine meaning and purpose. And the way I do that is by cultivating wisdom and virtue. And that's cultivated primarily, ironically, through prayer. Prayer, for Aristotle, all the way through the Christian tradition, prayer is considered the highest human act. Prayer is that act that most separates us from the animals. In the Latin, they would literally call it contemplation, contemplare, to think thoughts in accordance with the temple. The highest human act is to contemplate. It is to pray. So we are most human when we are praying. And so the whole goal of humanity was the fundamental question was, how do I conform my desires and my ambitions to the divine meaning and purpose around me? That was pre-modern man. It doesn't matter if you were in ancient China, ancient Russia, ancient Africa, ancient Americas. That was basically the fundamental question of pre-modern man. But when modernity comes in and the Industrial Revolution comes in, and scientific rationalism is the one sole way of understanding reality comes in, then something fundamentally different happens. The world basically inverts, it reorients. Now, in the modern world, the fundamental question is no longer, how do I conform my soul to the divine meaning and purpose around me? Now, the modern world asks, how do I conform the world through science and technology to my own desires and my own ambitions? And what Lewis recognized is that required a class of experts who supposedly alone have the competence to harness the technology to conform meaningless, purposeless nature to my own desires and my own ambitions. And out of that arose a politics, whether it was communism, fascism, or liberalism. Out of that rose a politics that effectively said, you are most free only when I, the expert, the technocrat, have the most power. Because I supposedly alone have the competence to conform the world to your desires and in your ambitions. I like to use the example of the cash assistance card, basically a food stamps card, that's issued by the state of Maryland. Does anyone know what the cash assistance food stamp debit card is called in Maryland? It's called the Independence Card. Let that hit you. It's called the Independence Card. You are most free when you are most dependent on them. That's the evil genius of modern day politics. So when all said and done, our uniparty has convinced much of the masses that they are most free when the oligarchs are most in charge. And so the oligarchs' ultimate job is to protect and perpetuate that position of authority. And what you just saw today in that ruling is exactly that, from this 30-something-year-old kid. Now, the good news, maybe there's going to be a little bit of white pilling now, but the good news is those days do appear to be waning. We're currently going through a massive crisis of legitimacy in this nation, and that is good. Where the divide between the people and the political class is growing by the day. There are some scholars who argue the United States today may be the most divided nation on the planet right now. There is such a massive gap between the people and the permanent political class, the ruled and the rulers, in terms of values, interests, concerns. And this is a hugely important dynamic for what's happening today, dynamic known as delegitimation. It's the process whereby public institutions lose their confidence and trust among the vast majority of the population. And what's happening today is that delegitimation is basically spiraling out of control in the United States. Every single poll, every single one, shows an absolute implosion in trust in all of our public institutions: government, military, police, courts, banks, schools, universities, all across the board. Americans, in the highest numbers we have ever seen, no longer trust our public institutions. And that delegitimation, that distrust, has basically spun out of control. The media can't control it. Politicians can't control it. Courts can't control it. Indictments can't control it. And the danger in all of this, as I'm sure you've guessed, is that as delegitimation festers, the stability of government begins to falter. As delegitimation festers, stability of government falters. All you got to do is ask the Soviet Union or the Berlin Wall what happens when enough people see the government as incurably corrupt and delegitimate. So that's my biggest takeaway from this decision. I am gobsmacked. I mean, I cannot believe a judge seriously handed down a decision that said you can continue with this case as long as you get rid of your boy toy. I just cannot. I mean, I couldn't even conceive that the corruption had festered that deeply. So gang, I got to tell you, I think we're seeing this is a foretaste of what we're going to see in November. You are guaranteed. This is what they are going to effing pull in November. I'm telling you now. That's why I'm blackpilled. I'm sorry. I'm going to be blackpilled today. This is the shit we're going to be dealing with this November. You thought 2020 was bad. Here you go. Here it is. Right there. If you have decisions that say you can continue with this idiot sham case as long as you get rid of your boy toy, if decisions like that can be handed down, can you imagine what we're going to see in November? They're going to pull out all the stops to stop Trump in November. And so that is why I am hosting in just, what are we, half an hour from now, 11 a.m. Eastern, I'm hosting a live event off platform where I'm sharing 3 actionable steps that we all can take right now to protect the election in November. Now, I shared this plan with a number of you last month, and it was so helpful to so many of you. We got such great feedback. We decided to do it again. Every single patriot out there needs to hear this message. A short virtual course off platform on election integrity and how we can fortify this upcoming November. So it's half an hour from now, 11 a.m. Eastern. Just click on the link below to register, or just go to election.turleytalks.com right now to snag a seat. I believe we only have a few seats left. If you want to come on and join us, I'll see you in a few minutes. It's going to be something that's really important. Obviously, we can't even talk now because I've been demonetized by YouTube, so we don't have super chat, so you can't ask me your questions. So if you have questions now that you want to talk about or anything you want to discuss, register for this online event and just click on that link below, and we'll chat off platform on a different virtual platform that we have, so we can talk more about this and try to assess what's going on here. So just click on that link below and register. Again, trying to find some white pills here. I mean, obviously, Judge McAfee did throw out 6 of the charges that Willis tried to bring in this ridiculous lawsuit against Trump. She is also facing congressional subpoena over use of federal funds, apparent misuse of federal funds. She's being investigated for unethical behavior by the Georgia Senate. And the good news about the throwing out of those 6 charges is they did include throwing out really the essence of Willis's racketeering charge, which was Trump's phone call with that inept Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, who's also engaged in his pathetic shenanigans over the last few years. And then Georgians just happily put him back in office in 2022. That's, again, is what I'm getting really blackpilled here, gang. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. I think our hope is looking outside the United States right now, this rising civilizationalist order that's happening all around us. 80-90% of the world's population turned their back on globalism. They're embracing tradition, nation, custom, civilization. And we're just stuck with feckless idiots like this running our lives. I mean, I've just had it. This is ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous. But anyway, this Scott McAfee judge, he did throw out that phone call that Trump had with Raffensperger when he basically said, dude, all we need is 10,000 votes. And we got this. So Fani Willis is trying to pass that off as Trump pressuring Raffensperger to alter the election results, when in reality, it was Trump trying to push Raffensperger to do his effing job. But Trump was just pointing out, dude, if you just do some signature verification and some chain of custody verification, we got this. We just need 10,000 votes. And we'll easily throw out 100,000 votes. Easily. It was not about getting rid of votes. It was about counting only legal votes. Regardless. I mean, I've argued this for 3.5 years. A charge got thrown out, nevertheless, which many consider to be the heart of Fani Willis's case against Trump. That was the racketeering part. She can still bring it up. Many people bring that point or raising that point. She can still bring it up, but she would have to refile the charge, and that would take months, and that would extend this trial beyond November, which would defeat the whole effing purpose of the trial, which, of course, is to interfere with the election. The whole purpose of the trial is to happen before November. If they can't do that, it's all pointless. So I did point out on Wednesday, she did get a huge setback this week, regardless of the way McAfee ended up ruling. But in the end, just the absurdity of this ruling is so farcical on its face. I just, that's what's blackpilling me. Is that something like this could be handed down. MSNBC and CNN are all going to treat it, like the Politburo propagandists that they are. They're all going to treat it like, oh, you see, there you go, here you go. Now Trump is cooked and all this shit. And all this judge and in fairness, Brian Kemp did just sign into law yesterday a commission that's going to go after rogue prosecutors. But if it's an oligarchy, who cares? They all just hang out to protect their own power. So I'm not putting any trust in it. So no, the answer is in our hands. We have got to rise up. We have got to mobilize. We have got to create parallel structures that are so powerful and so strong that, like in the Soviet era and in Eastern Europe, it just caused the whole thing to implode, the whole communist corrupt structure to implode. And then they were able to put in very nationalist, populist, traditionalist structures in their place throughout Eastern Europe and Russia. So anyway, with that, gang, just click on that link below and register for this election integrity virtual platform that we have, this lecture that I have, where I'm going to show you 3 actionable items you can take right now to protect the election in November, because boy, are we going to need to do that. So click on that link below and I'll see you on this other side. Maybe you can white pill me. All right. God bless, gang.